Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold metal of the observation window and watched the world below burn. Orange flames danced across continents that should have been green with life. Where cities once stood, only craters remained. The smell of recycled air in the ship could not hide the horror of what lay beneath them. The freighter Silent Dawn had been carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies when they dropped out of hyperspace into this nightmare. Captain Desic, a bird-like alien with bright blue feathers, stood beside Jake with tears streaming down his beak. His thin arms shook as he pointed at the burning planet. 43 million souls live down there, Desic whispered. My cousin had a family on the northern continent, 3 children. They were artists, Jake. They painted the most beautiful pictures of their twin sons. Jake kept his expression calm, but his hands formed fists at his sides. He had seen war before. He'd seen death. But this was different. This was the complete destruction of an entire peaceful world. The Zephyrians had never hurt anyone. They spent their time creating music and art and healing the sick. They had no weapons, no armies, no way to fight back. Who did this? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. The hegemony, said Vex, the ship's engineer. The small purple alien crawled out from under a control panel, his 6 arms covered in grease. Their attack ships are still in the system. It's 20 of them, maybe more. They are taking everything valuable from the planet and leaving the rest to burn. Through the ship's communication system came a cold, mechanical voice. Unknown vessel. This is Hegemony Command Ship Dominator. You have entered a restricted military zone. Reduce speed and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction. The crew of the Silent Dawn froze. Jake could see the fear in their eyes. In the past 2 years, the Hegemony had destroyed 6 different alien species completely. They took slaves from some worlds and burned others to ash. No one had been able to stop them. The Galactic Council sent strongly worded messages that the Hegemony ignored. The various alien militaries were too weak and too scared to fight back. We have to surrender, Desic said, his voice breaking. Maybe they will be merciful. Maybe they will just take our cargo and let us go. They will not, Vex said quietly. I have seen the reports. They do not leave witnesses. Jake looked around at his alien friends. He had worked with them for 3 years, hauling cargo between the peaceful worlds of the Outer Rim. They were good people who had never known real violence. Their homeworlds were garden planets where the worst predator was something like a rabbit. They could not understand the level of evil they were facing, but Jake Morrison was from Earth. He understood perfectly. Listen to me, Jake said, walking to the ship's communication console. All of you get to the escape pods. Right now. What are you doing? Vesic asked. Something I should have done a long time ago, Jake said. He began pressing buttons on the console, activating systems that most of the crew did not even know existed. I am calling for help. Help from who? Vex asked. The Galactic Council. They will send a committee to write a report about our deaths. Jake smiled, but there was no humor in it. No, I am calling Earth. The crew looked confused. Earth was just another colony world as far as they knew. Humans were peaceful traders who sold farming equipment and medical supplies. They were known for being friendly, but not particularly powerful. What could Earth do against the hegemony? Jake's fingers moved across the console with practiced speed. He activated an emergency beacon that had been hidden in the ship's system since the day he joined the crew. The beacon broadcast on frequencies that only humans monitored, using codes that had been drilled into every human child since birth. This is Jake Morrison, Terran Citizen Registration number 7-7-4-9-Alpha. He spoke into the microphone. Genocide in progress. Hegemony forces have destroyed the Zephyrian world of Cathera. 43 million dead. Hegemony fleet of approximately 20 ships still in system, coordinates attached. They are killing everyone. We need the fleet. Authorization code. Broken arrow. He turned off the transmitter and looked at his alien friends. They were staring at him like he had grown a second head. Jake, Desic said slowly. What is broken? Arrow. Before Jake could answer, the ship shook as hegemony attack craft surrounded them. Through the windows, they could see the angular black ships moving into position. Each one carried enough weapons to level a city. "Unknown vessel, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed," came the voice from the hegemony command ship. Jake sat down in the pilot's chair and put his hands behind his head. "Everyone relax. Help is coming." "Help from Earth?" Vex asked. "Jake, no offense to your people, but what can farmers and doctors do against the hegemony war fleet?" Jake looked out at the burning planet below them and thought about his childhood. On Earth, he remembered the lessons in school about the old wars, the ones from before humanity joined the galactic community. He remembered his grandfather's stories about battles fought in places with names like Normandy and Gettysburg and Midway. He remembered the look in his father's eyes when he spoke about the choices that had to be made when evil threatened the innocent. "You know what the funny thing is?" Jake said quietly. "For 50 years, we have been pretending to be something we are not. We told everyone we were peaceful farmers from a garden world. We sold you medical supplies and farming equipment. We smiled and shook hands and played the part of grateful newcomers to your galactic community." The hegemony ships were moving closer. Jake could see alien soldiers in battle armor, preparing to board the Silent Dawn. "But we never told you what we were before we became farmers," Jake continued. "We never mentioned what we had to survive to earn our place in the stars. We never explained why Earth is really classified as a death world in the galactic databases." A loud clang echoed through the ship as the hegemony boarding craft attached to their hull. "Jake, what are you talking about?" Essek asked, his voice full of fear. Jake Morrison smiled, and for the first time, his alien friends saw something in his eyes that they had never noticed before. Something cold and dangerous, and very, very patient. "I am talking about the fact that you are about to learn what happens when someone commits genocide in front of a human," Jake said. "And trust me, friends, you really do not want to miss this show." The boarding doors began to open. Admiral Lisa Kane was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency alert shattered the quiet of her kitchen. The high-pitched beeping that filled her apartment was one she had hoped never to hear. She set down her cup with steady hands and walked to the secure communication panel built into her wall. The message was short, but it made her blood run cold. "Broken Arrow authorization received. Genocide confirmed. Jake Morrison requesting immediate fleet deployment. Hegemony forces engaged in systematic extermination of peaceful species." Lisa had been waiting for this call for 23 years. She had prayed it would never come. But now that it was here, she felt a strange sense of relief. The pretending was finally over. Within 30 minutes, she was standing in the most secure room on Earth. The War Council chamber was buried 3 miles underground beneath the Rocky Mountains. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps, ship positions, and intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Around the Oval Table sat the 12 most powerful people in human space. President Ryan Clark looked older than his 55 years. The weight of leading humanity's secret had aged him badly. He stared at the holographic display showing the Cathara system, where Jake Morrison was trapped with a hegemony fleet. "Many dead?" the president asked. Intelligence Director Helen Ross stood up, her face grim. 43 million Zephyrians. Complete planetary sterilization. The hegemony used orbital bombardment to destroy every major city, then sent ground forces to hunt down survivors. Based on our satellite data, we estimate less than 1,000 beings escaped. General Marcus Webb, commander of all Terran military forces, activated another display. This is the 15th world the hegemony has destroyed in the past 2 years. 6 species have been completely eliminated. Another 12 have been enslaved. Their expansion is accelerating. "What do we know about their fleet strength?" asked Secretary of Defense Carol Price. "Current intelligence suggests they have over 800 warships spread across their territory," Helen said. "Their technology is superior to most galactic species. They use fear and overwhelming force to break enemy resistance before serious fighting begins." "Most galactic species," repeated President Clark, "but not us. No, sir, not us." The room fell silent. Everyone present knew what this moment meant. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its true nature from the galaxy. They had played the role of peaceful farmers and traders, selling medical supplies and agricultural equipment to alien worlds. They had smiled and been grateful for their place in galactic civilization, but that had all been a lie. "General Webb," the president said, "explain our options." Webb stood and walked to the main display. We have 3 choices, sir. Option 1 is limited intervention. We send a small force to rescue Jake Morrison and any other survivors, then file a formal protest with the Galactic Council. That will accomplish nothing, said Helen. The Council has been filing protests for 2 years. Hegemony ignores them completely. Option 2 is diplomatic pressure. We reveal our true military capabilities to the Galactic Council and threaten the hegemony with consequences if they continue their expansion. President Clark shook his head. That just gives them time to prepare for war. What is option 3? Expression became deadly serious. Protocol 7. Maximum response. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Protocol 7 was humanity's most classified military operation. Even most of the people in the room had never seen the full details. Explain Protocol 7 for those who do not have clearance, the president said. Protocol 7 authorizes the deployment of the Reaper fleet, Webb said quietly. Complete military response, with no restrictions on methods or weapons. The objective is not just to defeat the enemy, but to send a message to the entire galaxy about what happens when genocide is committed in the presence of humans. Admiral Kane leaned forward. Mr. President, the Reaper fleet has been our secret weapon for 30 years. Once we deploy it, there is no going back. The galaxy will know what we really are. And what are we, Admiral? Asked the President. Our apex predators from a death world who learn to work together instead of killing each other. We're the species that turned warfare into a science and then chose peace. We're the most dangerous military force in known space, and we have been pretending to be farmers. President Clark looked around the table at the faces of his advisors. Some were scared, others were angry. All of them understood the weight of the decision they were about to make. The hegemony believes they are the strongest species in the galaxy, the president said. They think they can commit genocide with no consequences. They are about to learn how wrong they are. He stood up and walked to the center of the room. I am authorizing Protocol 7. Deploy the Reaper fleet. Authorization code, Broken Arrow confirmed. General Webb nodded. What are our rules of engagement? Sir, there are no rules. The hegemony has chosen to wage a war of extermination against peaceful species. They will receive no mercy, no quarter, and no opportunity to surrender until they are no longer capable of threatening innocent lives. The president turned to Admiral Kane. How long until the fleet is operational? The Reaper fleet is already moving, sir. They went active the moment we received Jake's transmission. They will reach the Cathara system in 18 hours. Good. What about our cover story? Helen Ross activated another display. We are prepared to announce that Earth has been secretly developing new defensive technologies in response to reports of hegemony aggression. We will claim that recent attacks on peaceful worlds have forced us to reveal capabilities we hoped never to use. That is not entirely a lie, said the president. We did hope never to use them. Admiral Kane stood up. Sir, there is one more thing. Once the galaxy sees what the Reaper fleet can do, everything changes. We will no longer be seen as peaceful farmers. Some species will fear us. Others will want our protection. We will effectively become the dominant military power in known space. President Clark was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the display showing the burning remains of Cathara, then at the intelligence reports showing 14 other worlds that had suffered the same fate. 43 million Zephyrians died because we were not there to protect them, he said finally. Hundreds of millions more have died while we maintained our peaceful facade. How many more will die if we do nothing, Mr. President, said General Webb. Are you saying we should become the galaxy's police force? I am saying that we should become what we have always been. Protectors, guardians. The species that stands between predators and prey. The president looked each person in the room in the eye. The galaxy is about to learn that humans do not tolerate genocide. Not now, not ever. Admiral Kane saluted. I will contact the Reaper fleet immediately. Do that. And Admiral, send a message to Jake Morrison. Tell him that help is coming. Tell him that Earth remembers its children. As the meeting ended and the advisors filed out of the room, President Clark remained standing at the display. The image of burning Cathara filled the screen, a reminder of what happened when evil was allowed to act without consequence. Computer. Open secure channel to Reaper Fleet Command. Channel open, Mr. President. This is the President of Earth. Operation Broken Arrow is authorized. Show the galaxy what happens when someone commits genocide in front of Deathworlders. Remember this day for the next 1,000 years. The response came back immediately, cold and professional. Roger that, Mr. President. Time to stop pretending. Reaper Fleet is going active. In the cold darkness beyond Pluto, automated systems that had waited 30 years for this moment came to life. Warning lights flashed red across massive structures hidden in the shadow of distant asteroids. Computer voices echoed through empty corridors, speaking words that had never been heard before outside of training exercises. Protocol 7 authorized. Broken Arrow confirmed. All personnel to battle stations. Reaper Fleet is now active. Captain Danny Foster opened his eyes in the cryogenic chamber as warm air flowed over his body. The revival process took exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. He had practiced it 1,000 times, but this was the first time it was real. Around him, other chambers were opening as the most dangerous soldiers in human space returned. To consciousness, Danny sat up slowly and looked around the revival bay of the Dreadnought Vengeance. 50 other men and women were climbing out of their chambers, their movements quick and efficient despite having been asleep for 6 months. These were not regular military personnel. Every person on this ship had volunteered for the Reaper Fleet, knowing they might spend years in cryosleep waiting for a war that might never come. Now the war was here, Captain Foster said, a crisp voice over the intercom. Please report to the bridge immediately. Danny pulled on his uniform and walked through corridors he knew by heart. The Vengeance was not like any other ship in the galaxy, where alien vessels were built for efficiency and comfort. Human warships were built for one purpose: killing other ships as quickly and completely as possible. The bridge was already buzzing with activity when Danny arrived. Officers sat at stations designed around human reflexes and psychology. Every system was built to take advantage of humanity's natural advantages: their ability to think quickly under pressure, talent for cooperative violence, and their complete lack of fear when protecting others. Status report, Danny said as he took his captain's chair. All systems operational, sir, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker. Weapons are charged and ready. Our sister ships are coming online now. Through the main screen, Danny could see the other vessels of the Reaper Fleet powering up their engines. The Dreadnought Retribution was the size of a small city, its hull bristling with weapons that could crack planets.
The destroyer.
The destroyer Wrath specialized in fast attacks and psychological warfare. The cruiser Fury was built around the most advanced medical and scanning technology humans had ever created, allowing it to save lives and take them with equal precision. Commander Scott, what do we know about our target? Danny asked. Commander Amy Scott activated the main display. She was the fleet's intelligence officer and had spent the last 10 years studying every aspect of galactic warfare. The Hegemony fleet at Kethera consists of 23 ships. Their largest vessel is a battlecruiser called the Dominator, armed with plasma cannons and kinetic weapons. Standard alien military doctrine focuses on long-range bombardment and intimidation tactics. Crew complement? Danny asked. Approximately 15,000 beings across the entire enemy fleet. Most are career soldiers, but our intelligence suggests at least 30% are conscripts from conquered worlds, forced into service. Danny nodded. The Reaper fleet had protocols for dealing with unwilling combatants. Human military doctrine had evolved far beyond simple destruction. They could save whoever deserved saving and kill whoever deserved killing, often in the same battle. What about the civilian situation? Danny asked. Jake Morrison's freighter is being held by the Hegemony command ship. Our sensors show 5 life signs aboard, including Morrison. The planet below is completely dead, but there may be survivors hiding in underground shelters. Danny stood up and walked to the main screen. For 30 years, he had trained for this moment. He had studied every aspect of alien psychology, every weakness in their military thinking, every advantage that humanity's violent history gave them over species that had evolved on peaceful worlds. Open a channel to all ships in the fleet, Danny said. Channel open, sir? Danny looked at the camera that would transmit his words to every member of the Reaper fleet. These men and women had given up normal lives to serve as humanity's hidden sword. They had spent years in cryosleep, waiting for the call that would unleash them on humanity's enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Foster. Today the masquerade ends. For 50 years, we have pretended to be peaceful farmers and traders. We have hidden our true nature from the galaxy, hoping that we would never need to reveal it. That hope is now dead. He paused, looking at the tactical display showing the hegemony fleet that had just finished committing genocide. The enemy we face believes they are apex predators. They have conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions of beings. They think that overwhelming force and terror tactics make them invincible. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Danny activated another display showing Earth's history. Images flashed across the screen. Ancient battles, modern wars, the long climb from a world where everything tried to kill everything else to a civilization that chose cooperation over competition. We come from a death world. Now we evolve from predators. Who learned to hunt in packs? We are the species that turned warfare into science, then chose to use that science to protect instead of conquer. We are what happens when apex predators develop a conscience. The crew of the Vengeance listened in perfect silence. In the background, Danny could hear similar speeches being given on the other ships of the fleet. The hegemony has committed genocide against peaceful beings who could not defend themselves. They have shown no mercy to the innocent. They will receive the same consideration from us that they gave to 43 million Zephyrians. Danny looked directly into the camera. Today, the galaxy learns what it means to threaten the innocent in front of humans. Today we remind the universe why predators should fear the apex species. All ships prepare for jump to hyperspace. It's time to show them what Deathworlders look like when we stop pretending to be civilized. The Reaper fleet began to move. For ships that represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, crewed by volunteers who had spent their entire adult lives preparing for this moment. They had trained in secret, planned in darkness, and waited in cryosleep for the day when humanity would need its most terrible weapon. Jump in 10 minutes, reported the navigation officer. Destination: Cathera system. Danny sat back in his command chair and thought about Jake Morrison, trapped aboard an alien freighter in the middle of an enemy fleet. Jake had sent the call for help, not knowing what he was unleashing. Probably still thought of humans as peaceful traders who sold farming equipment to alien worlds. He was about to learn the truth. All hands, this is the captain, Danny announced over the ship's intercom. In a few minutes, we will engage the enemy that destroyed an entire peaceful civilization. Remember your training. Remember why we do this. We are not conquerors. We are not empire builders. We are protectors. Today, we protect the galaxy from those who would destroy the innocent. The countdown reached 0. Jump. Danny ordered space twisted around the Reaper fleet as they disappeared into hyperspace, carrying humanity's response to genocide toward an enemy that had no idea what was coming for them. Warlord Krex stood on the command bridge of the Dominator and watched his fleet strip the last valuable resources from the dead world below. The Zephyrian planet had yielded impressive amounts of rare metals and artistic treasures before his forces had burned it clean. In 3 days, they would move on to the next target system. The bridge of the Dominator was a monument to hegemony power. Weapons displays showed enough firepower to level continents. Tactical screens tracked the 23 ships under his command, each one capable of destroying cities. Krex himself was nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled hide marked with scars. From a dozen campaigns, he was the perfect example of hegemony's superiority. Big, strong, and completely without mercy. Warlord, said his tactical officer, an insectoid creature named Zis. We are detecting incoming ships. Krex barely looked up from the reports of plundered wealth. How many? For vessels, sir. Unknown configuration? For ships? Krex laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. Against my entire fleet? Z studied his instruments more carefully. His compound eyes reflected the light from multiple screens as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. Sir, These ships do not match any design in our database. The energy signatures are completely unknown. Unknown species trying to play. Hero Krek said with amusement. How refreshing. Put them on screen. The main display showed 4 ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. They were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Where most alien vessels were sleek and curved, these ships looked brutal and angular. They moved with a purpose that made even experienced hegemony officers uncomfortable. Sir, Zis said, his voice uncertain, the lead ship is transmitting. On all frequencies. Let me hear it. The bridge filled with a calm, steady voice speaking in perfect galactic standard. This is Admiral Danny Foster of the Terran Reaper fleet. You are engaged in genocide against peaceful populations. You have 30 seconds to begin evacuation of this system, or we will consider you enemy combatants. This is your only warning. The bridge fell silent. Krek stared at the screen, trying to process what he had just heard. Terran. He had heard of Earth, of course, was some backwater farming world populated by peaceful traders who sold medical supplies and farming equipment. What were they doing? Here with warships, Terran Reaper fleet, Krek said slowly. Ah, are these the humans? According to our files, humans are classified as a peaceful agricultural species, Zis replied. They have no significant military capabilities. Krex began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, but grew into a roar that echoed through the bridge. The idea that farmers and traders thought they could threaten the hegemony war fleet was the funniest thing he had heard in years. 30 seconds, Krex said, wiping tears from his eyes. These farmers are giving me 30 seconds to evacuate. Open a channel. Channel open, sir. Unknown vessels. This is Warlord Krex of the Hegemony First Fleet. You are outnumbered 23-4. Your ships are not in our military databases, which means they are inferior designs built by a species we have never bothered to conquer. Leave now or be destroyed. The response came back immediately, still in that same calm voice. Warlord Krex, you have 20 seconds remaining. Krex's amusement turned to anger. How dare these primitive farmers show such disrespect to a hegemony warlord? He had destroyed entire species for less. All ships, Krex announced on the fleet-wide channel. Prepare to engage unknown vessels. Show them what happens when inferiors challenge the hegemony. On his tactical display, 23 warships began to move into attack formation. Each ship carried enough weapons to level a planet. Together, they represented the largest military force the hegemony had ever assembled. Time remaining? Krex asked. 10 seconds, sir. Fire when ready. I want nothing left but debris. The countdown reached 0. The human ships continued to hold position, making no attempt to flee or take defensive action. Sir, said the weapons officer, all ships report ready to fire. Fire everything, Krex ordered. Vaporize them. The hegemony fleet unleashed hell, plasma cannons that could melt through ship armor like paper, kinetic weapons moving at significant fractions of light speed, energy weapons that could boil oceans, enough destructive power to sterilize a planet concentrated on 4 ships that had dared to challenge the mightiest fleet in the galaxy. The barrage lasted for 3 full minutes. When it ended, space around the human ships glowed with residual energy from the massive weapons discharge. Krex smiled with satisfaction as he waited for the debris field to appear on his sensors. Instead, the tactical display showed something impossible. All 4 human ships remained exactly where they had been. Not one of them showed any damage at all. What? Krex stared at the screen in disbelief. That is impossible. Run a diagnostic on all sensors. Sir, Zeus said, his voice shaking. Sensors are functioning normally. The enemy ships appear to be completely undamaged. How is that possible? You hit them with enough firepower to crack a moon? Before anyone could answer, the human transmission came again. 30 seconds elapsed. You chose poorly. All ships, ladies and gentlemen, you are cleared to demonstrate why humanity is classified as a death world species. Show them what apex predators actually look like. Krex felt something he had not experienced in 20 years of conquest. Fear. These humans had just taken the full firepower of his fleet and emerged without a scratch. What kind of species could build ships that strong? Sir, the communications officer said we are receiving thousands of transmissions from across the galaxy. Word of this engagement is spreading. What are they saying? The humans, sir. Other species are talking about the humans. Some of the messages are ... concerning. Put one on speaker. Panicked alien voice filled the bridge. Do not engage the humans in combat. They are not what they seem. Earth is classified as a death world. They have been hiding their true nature. Another transmission followed. The humans are apex predators. They have been pretending to be peaceful. Do not fight them. Listen to message after message, each one more terrifying than the last. Slowly, a horrible truth began to dawn on him. The peaceful farmers and traders who had been selling medical supplies across the galaxy for 50 years were not what they appeared to be. Sir, Zis whispered, what are your orders? Before Krex could answer, the human ships began to move. They did not advance in the predictable formation patterns that alien species used. Instead, they seemed to flow through space like hunting predators, each one taking a position that would maximize the damage they could inflict. All ships, Krex said, his voice no longer confident, maintain defensive formation. Do not engage unless fired upon. Sir, are we retreating? Krex looked at the 4 human ships that had just ignored the firepower of his entire fleet. Thought about the messages warning him not to fight them. Thought about the word that kept appearing in the transmissions. Death World sent a message. To Hegemony High Command, Krex ordered. Tell them we have encountered an unknown military force of significant capability. Tell them the humans are not what our intelligence files claim. What about the engagement, sir? Krex watched the human ships continue their approach. They moved with a confidence that spoke of absolute certainty in their superiority. These were not the actions of desperate farmers. These were the actions of apex predators who had found their prey. Prepare for battle, Krex said quietly, and pray to whatever gods you believe in. Because I think we are about to learn why humans have been hiding their true nature from the galaxy. On the screen, the lead human ship was growing larger as it approached. Krex could see weapon ports opening along its hull, revealing technology that looked nothing like standard galactic designs. For the first time in his career, Warlord Krex began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. What happened next would be remembered across the galaxy for 1,000 years. The human ship Vengeance simply vanished from all sensors. One moment it was there, moving toward the Hegemony fleet, and the next moment it was gone. Warlord Krex stared at his tactical display in confusion, wondering if his instruments had malfunctioned. Then the Hegemony cruiser Iron Fist exploded, not destroyed in the way ships usually died in space combat, with hull breaches and fires and debris. The Iron Fist simply came apart, its engines offline, its weapons dead, its life support failing. But the crew was still alive, screaming over the communication channels as their ship drifted helplessly. What happened? Krex demanded. Where did they go? Before anyone could answer, the Vengeance reappeared directly behind another Hegemony ship. Weapons that looked nothing like standard galactic designs fired precise beams that cut through the destroyer swift death like surgical knives. Ship's engines went dead. Its weapons stopped working. Its shields collapsed. But again, the crew remained alive. Sir Zis said, his voice shaking, they are not trying to kill the crews. They are disabling our ships while keeping everyone alive. Why would they do that? The answer came from the human fleet on all frequencies, broadcast so that every ship in the system could hear. This is Captain Pete Johnson of the Terran warship. Wrath. We want you to watch what comes next. I want you to see what happens to those who commit genocide. I want you to remember this day. The Wrath began broadcasting images across every screen in the Hegemony fleet. Pictures of the Zephyrian world before the attack, beautiful cities filled with art and music, peaceful beings creating sculptures and paintings, children playing in gardens under twin suns. Then came images of the same world after the Hegemony attack. Burning cities, mass graves, the complete destruction of an entire civilization. 43 million innocents, Johnson's voice continued, murdered for no reason except that you could. artists and healers and children, killed because you wanted their resources. The images kept coming, each one more terrible than the last. Zephyrian families trying to escape the bombardment, hospitals full of wounded civilians, targeted by hegemony ground forces. The systematic execution of prisoners who had never held weapons in their lives. "We have been watching you," Johnson said. "We have recorded every atrocity, every act of cruelty, every innocent life you have taken. And now you will pay for each." 1. The Wrath opened fire on the disabled hegemony ships. But these were not normal weapons. Each beam was precisely targeted, designed to cause maximum psychological damage. The weapons tore through ship hulls in patterns that formed images. The faces of Zephyrian children, the symbols of their peaceful culture, reminders of what the hegemony had destroyed. Inside the disabled ships, hegemony crews watched their vessels being carved apart like artwork. Each cut a message about the innocents they had killed. The fear in their voices filled the communication channels. "This is impossible," Krex whispered. "How are they doing this?" His answer came from the third human ship, Retribution. Commander Kate Miller's voice was cold as ice. "You want to know? How we do this? We will show you." The Retribution demonstrated something that violated every law of physics the hegemony understood. When it destroyed an enemy ship, the explosion was converted into pure energy that made the human vessel stronger. Each hegemony warship that died made the Retribution more powerful. "Energy conversion warfare," Miller explained as her ship tore through 3 hegemony vessels in seconds. "We do not just destroy our enemies, we use their own mass and energy to become stronger." But the most terrifying demonstration came from the 4th human ship, Fury. Commander Amy Scott's vessel began scanning the remaining hegemony fleet with medical sensors more advanced than anything in galactic civilization. "Attention hegemony fleet," Scott announced. "Our scans show that 37% of your crews are conquerors from conquered worlds, forced into service against their will. We are now demonstrating our selective engagement protocols." Beams shot out from the Fury, passing harmlessly through ship hulls and armor. Inside the hegemony vessels, the forced conscripts began to disappear in flashes of light. "We're being teleported to safety aboard the human ships. We can save whoever we choose," Scott said. "Which means everyone we kill dies by our deliberate decision. Look around you, hegemony crews. Your forced allies are gone. Only willing participants in genocide remain." The psychological effect was devastating. Hegemony soldiers who had thought themselves invincible watched their ships being systematically dismantled by an enemy that could appear and disappear at will, convert their weapons into artwork, grow stronger from their deaths, and selectively save or kill anyone they chose. Within 2 hours, the mighty hegemony fleet was reduced to floating wreckage. Ships that had terrorized dozens of worlds were now drifting hulks, their crews alive, but completely helpless. Not a single human vessel had taken meaningful damage. Warlord Krex found himself alone on the bridge of the Dominator's command. Ship disabled and dead in space. His crew had been taken by the human teleporters. Not killed, but removed and placed in protective custody. Only he remained, kept alive for a reason he was afraid to understand. The human Admiral Foster's face appeared on his screen. For the first time, Krex could see what a human looked like when they stopped pretending to be peaceful farmers. The eyes were those of a predator that had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill everything else. Warlord Krex Foster said calmly, "Do you understand what has happened here today?" "You've destroyed my fleet," Krex said, his voice barely a whisper. "No, we have demonstrated what happens when someone commits genocide in front of humans. Your fleet is disabled, not destroyed. Your crews are in protective custody, not dead. You are alive because we choose to let you live." Foster leaned forward, and Krex saw something in those human eyes that made his blood turn cold. "But the 43 million Zephyrians you murdered are still dead, and for that crime, you will face justice." "What kind of justice?" "The kind that apex predators deliver to those who prey on the innocent." "You wanted to be the galaxy's greatest predator, Krex. Today you learn that humans already hold that title. The difference is that we chose to hunt monsters instead of innocents." The transmission ended, leaving Krex alone in the dark with the knowledge that he had awakened something terrible. For 50 years, humanity had hidden among the galactic community, pretending to be peaceful traders. But they were apex predators from a death world, and they had just revealed their true nature to the universe. As rescue ships from nearby systems began arriving to collect the survivors, word of the battle spread across the galaxy at light speed. Every species received the same message. The humans were not what they seemed. And the age of unopposed genocide was over. On the silent dawn, Jake Morrison watched the human fleet through the observation windows and smiled. His alien friends stared at the aftermath of the battle in complete silence, finally understanding what their human crewmate really was. "Help has arrived," Jake said quietly, "just like I promised." The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. Within 3 days, every civilized world knew that the mighty Hegemony First Fleet had been completely destroyed by 4 human ships, a species that had been known for selling farming equipment. And medical supplies had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous military force in known space. Ambassador Paul Green sat in the Galactic Council chambers on the neutral world of Nexus Prime, watching 12 different alien species argue about what to do with humanity. For 30 years, Paul had played the role of Earth's kindly diplomat, convincing everyone that humans were peaceful farmers who just wanted to trade and make friends. Now, the truth was out, and the galaxy was terrified. "The humans have been lying to us for 50 years, declared Counselor Vexai, a tall reptilian being whose species controlled 3 star systems. They pretended to be peaceful while building the most powerful war fleet in the galaxy. This is an act of deception that cannot be ignored." "They saved my people," said Counselor Thesic, the bird-like representative whose cousin had died on Cathara. "When the Hegemony was committing genocide, where was the Galactic Council? We sent reports and pleas for help for 2 years. Humans acted in 3 days, because they were hiding their true capabilities," Vexai responded. "They could have stopped the Hegemony years ago, but chose to let millions die while they maintained their deception." Paul Green stood up slowly. The chamber fell silent. Everyone wanted to hear what Earth's ambassador would say about the revelation that had shattered their understanding of galactic civilization. "Honored counselors," Paul began, his voice calm and steady, "you are correct. They've been lying too. You, for 50 years, shocked murmurs filled the chamber. No one had expected such a direct admission. Told you we came from Earth. We told you we were survivors. What we did not mention was what we survived." Paul activated a holographic display. "That showed Earth from space. This is our world." "What do you see?" "A garden world," said Counselor Moran, "a peaceful aquatic being. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds." "It looks beautiful. Look closer," Paul said. The display zoomed in to show Earth's surface. Vast predators hunting in oceans, deadly creatures stalking through forests, natural disasters that could level cities. This is what we call a death world. Every species on our planet evolved to kill every other species. The weather tries to kill us, the animals try to kill us, the plants try to kill us, even the ground tries to kill us. The council chamber was completely silent. "We are not peaceful farmers," Paul continued. "We are apex predators who learned to cooperate instead of competing. We are the species that turned warfare into a science and then chose peace instead of conquest. We are what happens when the deadliest predators in the galaxy develop a conscience." Counselor Vexai stood up, his scales showing the color patterns of anger. "You admit to deceiving us. You admit to hiding your military capabilities. How can we trust anything you say?" "You cannot," Paul said simply, "and we do not expect you to, but you can trust this. When genocide happens in front of humans, when innocents are slaughtered for conquest, we will stop pretending to be civilized." The debate that followed lasted for 6 hours. Some species demanded that humanity be expelled from the galactic community. Others wanted Earth to be quarantined. Few suggested that humans should be classified as a military threat and dealt with accordingly. Paul listened to it all with patience. When the arguments finally ended, he He stood up one more time. "The Galactic Council has 3 choices," he said. "You can try to contain us, but we have been preparing for war longer than your species have had spaceflight. You can try to expel us, but we will not abandon peaceful species to the mercy of predators. Or you can accept the new reality." "New reality?" asked Counselor Moran. "That humanity has appointed itself the guardian of those who cannot guard themselves? Any species that commits genocide, any empire that wages aggressive war against peaceful populations, will face the full might of our military? We are not interested in conquest or empire. We want only to ensure that what happened to the Zephyrians never happens again." 3 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest space station, Sanctuary. The station orbited a neutral star system and served as headquarters for the Terran Protectorate. Humanity's new role as defender of peaceful species. Ships from dozens of different worlds floated in the space around the station. Refugee vessels carrying survivors from worlds attacked by aggressive empires. Merchant ships from species that had never been able to trade safely before human protection. Even a few former hegemony worlds that had overthrown their rulers and asked for Earth's help in rebuilding. "Do you regret it?" asked Thesic, who now served as the Protectorate's Alien Affairs Coordinator, revealing what your species really is. Jake watched a human patrol ship escort a convoy of medical supplies to a world that had been attacked by pirates. The pirates had surrendered immediately when they learned humans were involved. "We spent 50 years lying about our nature," Jake said. "We pretended to be something we were not because we thought it would make the galaxy safer. But lies do not stop genocide. Pretending to be weak does not protect the innocent." A communication alert sounded through the station. Another distress call, this time from a mining colony being attacked by slavers. Jake could see the response already beginning. Human ships moving to intercept, rescue vessels preparing to evacuate civilians, medical teams getting ready to treat the wounded. "The galaxy has learned 3 things about humans," Jake continued. "First, we are far more dangerous than anyone imagined. Second, we choose to use that danger to protect others instead of conquering them. And third, we will never again stand by while innocents are slaughtered." Thesic nodded, watching the human ships disappear into hyperspace to answer the distress call. "Your species could have conquered the entire galaxy," Jake said, "but we chose to save it instead." In the months that followed, the galaxy settled into a new order. Aggressive species found their expansion permanently halted by the threat of human intervention. Peaceful civilizations flourished under humanity's protection. The slave trade collapsed when traders learned that humans would hunt down anyone who dealt in sentient beings. Not everyone was happy with the change. Some species resented humanity's dominant position. Others feared what might happen if humans ever decided to stop being protectors and become conquerors instead. But for the first time in galactic history, weak species could sleep peacefully, knowing that somewhere in the dark between stars, apex predators stood watch. The age of unopposed aggression was over. The age of human guardianship had begun. Admiral Danny Foster, now commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, received regular reports from across human space. Worlds at peace, trade routes secure, refugee populations finding new homes. Slavers surrendering at the first sign of human ships. "Status report," Foster said to his aide. "All quiet, sir. No major conflicts. 3 minor incidents resolved without violence when the aggressors learned we were responding." Foster smiled. "Good, that is exactly what we wanted." The greatest victory of the Reaper fleet was not the destruction of the hegemony. It was the fact that most days they did not need to fight at all. The galaxy had learned that humans would respond to aggression with overwhelming force, and most potential aggressors chose peace instead. "Sir," his aide continued, "we have received another request for membership in the Protectorate. The Andrian Republic wants to join." "Send the standard." Response: "We will protect them if they need protection, but we do not want to rule them. We are guardians, not emperors." Foster looked out at the stars and thought about the choice his species had made. They could have been conquerors, They could have built an empire that spanned the galaxy. Instead, they chose to be something better, the shield that stood between. Predators and prey it was, he thought, exactly what apex predators should do when they developed a conscience.